To part two of the system design introduction. This is part of the engineering slash product slash TPM talks. And essentially, we're trying to break out system design interviews and the best way to approach them. We've identified that typically SDIs are challenging because first, they are deliberately ambiguous. That means that you don't have all the answers or all the questions, and you have to interact with the interviewer to get that information out. Two, we've identified that a lot of people do not have sufficient uh, experience of large scale system design. So, therefore, number three becomes important, which is to have practice, 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 right? So, as usual, we will start with the thought of the day. And today's thought of the day is by Gustav Flaubert. Gustav Flaubert. And what he says is, there is not a particle of life which does not bear poetry within it. There is not a particle of life which does not bear poetry within it. I think the question, my listeners, are, what part of your life do you see poetry? Or what part is in prose? Yeah, what part is in poetry? What part is in prose? Okay, next question. Okay, so we have already covered the requirements clarification, back of the envelope estimation, system interface. And now we want to quickly attack the remaining four uh, steps. If you have an interview coming up, this is for you. If you're a US or really any graduate facing competing for a position or internship in a top tier technology company, this is for you. But if you're also experienced or is coming already, this could be a refresher for you. Okay, so quite quickly, let's hit the ground running. In defining data model, you still have lots of questions. That never goes away. But why do you want to do this, right? You do this because in the early part of the interview, you need to clarify how data will flow through your system, how it will move through your different system components. And it has an added benefit at the end, towards the end, because it will guide you when you want to make decisions around data partitioning and management, when you want to identify different system entities, how they will interact with each other. All these things are key to getting a successful outcome in your SDI, right? So you want to at this point consider different aspects of the data model like storage, transportation, encryption, to see how will those things connect, right? Now for our Twitter-like system, an example would be um, there should be a user data element defined by the user ID, name, email, date of birth, creation date, last login, etc. There should of course be a tweet. X is based on tweets being sent out. So that's critical to requirements. Was ID, each tweet would need to be able to be tracked in reference to what's the content or the data in the tweet. Is the is the location of the tweet really important, or is it the location of the user? Do we need to capture the number of likes in the tweet? Definitely, we need to capture the timestamp. Typically, timestamp is sine qua non for observability and monitoring. Users follow most social media platforms require following. So you want to know who is following who, where, and when. Um, Favorite tweets, is that an element of requirement? If it is, then you define those bits at this stage here, right? And so I left some space on the board. Let me know if there are any other um, data models that you expect to fall into the API contract, if there are any other elements that you expect to see based on your experience, based on any interviews you've come across recently. And the reason why data model is important is because of the next step, right? Which is the high level design. At this point, you still ask questions. Questions never goes away, right? Or do questions go away? I mean, as an engineer or TPM, technical program manager or product lead, we really ever run out of questions? I'll say no or yes, but that's really a question for you. Um, but this high level design is really about getting the initial design. You want 5 or 6 boxes that represent the entire system, just a simplified initial capture view, so that you can identify the components that will be needed to solve the actual problem. Hopefully, at this stage, your interviewer gives you some feedback. It's interactive. Suggest this, they suggest that. They could tell you at this point, don't focus on this element, focus on that element. But it's important for you to expect the high level design and to go in prepared for it. Right? So for Twitter at a high level, we'd expect to see multiple application servers, expect clients where you're accessing from your mobile phone, iOS or Android, Windows, or iPad or notebook, different client browsers. Then we expect possibly a load balancer, which will be in front, to distribute traffic. If we assume that there's going to be a lot more than read traffic, that write traffic, that means more people will be reading the tweets and others are generating rather than writing their own, then can decide to have separate servers instead of putting them in one server. On the back end, we'll definitely need efficient database that can store the tweets, support a large number of reads, and also low latency. We also need a distributed file storage, right? Cassandra for storing photos and videos. These are some of things that you consider in high level design. In the detailed design, now imagine a funnel. You come from the top, you're going down towards the bottom. In detailed design, at this point, we start to ask more concrete questions like, sorry, start to make more concrete decisions like, is it an apple or an orange? At this point, the interviewer must give you feedback, right? Because it may not be a question of the apples or orange, it could be which direction do you want to head, right? So you present your different approaches. You want to, at this point, show what your pros and cons with each one, and typically they'll ask you questions just to check your knowledge, check your thinking, see if you're able to make those designs. So, for example, looking at the Twitter situation, since we'll be storing, lots of data, the question is, what issue could it cause, right? Should we store the data of the user on one database or on two? How we handle hot users who tweet a lot or follow lots of people or have lots of followers? Those kind of questions and more. What components we need better load balancing? We need to address those bits in the detailed design. And if you really want to be top tier, you really want to go over and beyond, you want to exceed the mark, then you can start to identify and resolve bottlenecks, right? Dig deeper into your choices. What's causing the traffic jam? So, what are we doing to mitigate it? Do we have enough copies of different services running so that failures do not cause the system shut down? How we monitor the performance of our service, monitoring and observability are key to most platforms. That's where the data comes, you know. So preparation and being organized during the interview are the keys to success in system design interviews. The steps that I mentioned above, they should guide you to remain on track and cover all your bases, particularly different aspects when trying to design a system. What I'm going to do next, that's the next video, is I'm going to actually go deep into Twitter system design and possibly later on look at Twitter API design. Again, the aim is just to expose you to different design considerations, different design approaches, different design elements. It's like Lego, putting them together. Okay, if anyone has any questions, feel free to DM me, put your comments below the chat. I'm here for you. Otherwise, till we see you again. Bye.